I have a girlfriend whose sister this story is about. The sister, Marnie, is a very weird woman. We have a club activity with around 5 people, and we meet at each other's houses. Marnie invited us to her place as she wanted to host. We had our bi-weekly meeting, and after we were just talking and stuff, and somehow the talk about her son came up. She told us that she makes her nearly adult son pay rent and pay for his share of food because he has a job now. Apparently, it was her new husband's idea to discipline the boy. I chimed in and told her that was in fact illegal. You have to legally provide shelter and nutrition for your kids till they're 18. We fought and she called me a witch because I have no business telling her how to be a good parent. I told her that I wasn't telling her how to be a good parent, but how to do the bare minimum. My girlfriend brought us apart and we left shortly after. I asked her if she was aware of it, and she said yes, but she didn't know how much the boy was paying, which, by the way, is more than 200 euros. He has a minimum wage job for students, so it is somewhere between 400 and max 500 bucks a month. The 200 are only for rent. Food is more to it. I don't know how much more, but about 100 to 150 more. Girlfriend then said that she didn't agree with it either, because the boy is a good kid, but that it was not her place to parent her nephew. I just got so mad. I also have a daughter from a previous relationship, and I could never imagine making things so hostile in my house. Sure, show her responsibility by making her do chores and pay for some things like leisure stuff, like half of a phone she wants. If she wants to go on a trip, I will pay for the accommodation, but the spending money she had to put in. That kind of stuff. But rent and food? That's so messed up. I got mad at my girlfriend for her not doing anything and went home. I have not talked to her, but I'm considering involving child services. Am I the idiot here? They show heavy favoritism toward his step-siblings. The oldest step-sibling is going to be the same age as son next month and does not pay for anything. Marnie has threatened to evict her son if he fails to pay. You are not the idiot. The child does not need to pay rent and food as discipline. Discipline is for when a child causes problems. For all children, his kids, not to be disciplined the same way, is playing pure favoritism for his children and shows he is awful toward his stepson, and his mother is an idiot for allowing that to happen. You are not wrong. I would definitely get CPS involved and let them know the extent she is holding him financially responsible for his housing and food. The threats of eviction are just flat-out mistreatment. I had a parent like this. Let me know every single time she was mad how much child support she got, that she didn't need it, and I could get out. You are the idiot. I don't agree with what they are doing, but getting the police or child police involved doesn't seem necessary. You should talk to their kid and convince him to refuse to pay rent. Sounds like they want their kid to learn about the real world, and in the real world, he will need to stand up for himself. Stay out of it. Do not call CPS. It's really not your place. The kid is not in danger, so back off. Services are for when a kid needs protecting. Also, you have no idea how the kid feels about it. You are not the idiot at all. My parents did this to me. I ended up moving out ASAP, getting my own place and my own job. I figured, why not? I was already paying rent and bills. They wanted me to grow up so badly, right? Well, it put a toll on the relationship between me and my parents for nearly a decade. They didn't understand why I eventually just got mad and left one day. I didn't understand why they couldn't see that they pushed me to do it while forcing adulthood on me, while treating me as a child. I would never. I'm with you. Teach them responsibility. You are not the idiot. I agree that a kid shouldn't pay for food or shelter, and that it might be illegal depending on where you are. That said, I don't know if child services would actually do anything about it, and it will likely cause drama that may be traced back to you. I recently lost pregnancy at 12 weeks. The pregnancy was unplanned, but my husband and I were planning on keeping it as we are both financially secure enough to have a child. My husband was disappointed, but his mom is devastated. She has been inconsolable and has called me multiple times crying. The issue is that I'm not upset about it at all. I really didn't have enough time to get attached to the idea of being pregnant, as I only knew for sure about 3 weeks before I lost it. I've listened to her whenever she needs, but she can't understand why I'm not as upset as her. The last straw came when my husband casually brought up a Zoom call mother-in-law was organizing for the baby's memorial. We're still in lockdown, so in person is out of the question, thank God. She wants to invite a lot of their large, close-knit family. Hubby assumed that she'd talk to me about it and phoned her to tell her she needed to take a step back. She blew up at him and called me cold and unfeeling and asked, what mother wouldn't mourn the loss of their child? In my eyes, I'm not a mother and I don't have a child. I lost a blob of cells that didn't even have eyeballs yet. To me, it's the equivalent of crying over my period every month. I understand not everyone feels like this, and I want to be sympathetic, but a memorial is way beyond my comfort zone. I've refused to let it go ahead, and she's been radio silent since. Husband is beyond stressed already from dealing with her, and I think her grieving needs need to take a back seat for a while. Am I the idiot? Edit. Mother-in-law had fertility issues. Husband is her only child, and she dealt with a lot of early and late-term loss. You are not the idiot. I get that she wanted to be a grandma, but holy smokes, she's imposing something on you that you don't want. You had not bonded to the baby at all. Hosting a memorial against your will is downright creepy. It's good your husband is backing you up. Yep, she needs to take a step back. You are not wrong, and your mother-in-law is weird. At 12 weeks, a lot of couples haven't even told family about the pregnancy yet, as endings are so common in the first trimester. Plenty of women lose it without ever knowing they were pregnant. Having a memorial service for a 12-week pregnancy is not a thing. I'm sorry you and your husband are having to deal with this. Glad you're doing okay. When and if you get pregnant again, you might want to keep the information to yourselves until 16 weeks or so. You are not the idiot. This is your pregnancy loss, not hers. She can grieve and talk about it with her friends and family if she needs to, but she cannot dictate your emotional response to this event, nor can she have any expectation whatsoever that you should participate in her grieving process. Sorry you are dealing with this. You are not wrong. She's out of line. OP, I say this gently. You have a slight husband problem too. He really needs to take the lead at healthy boundary setting with his mom. I am grateful he called her to tell her to step back. I think this is a good time for you to talk privately with him on your mutual boundaries with her. This is a good time for you and him to really look at the roles of her. At a minimum, she is now completely on the outside of any information until you are ready to share. So my nearly adult girl, mom, is autistic. She does a lot of little things that annoy me, even though I know she can't help it. Like she'll come into my room and scream at me if not everything's organized. And by organized, she means every book on my bookshelf must be in color-coded order, and every single piece of clothing needs to be exactly in its place in my dresser, and I can't move anything or redecorate my room because it freaks her out, so it's been the same since I was little. Also, she will kind of say mean things to me like, "You've been gaining a lot of weight recently," which I know isn't meant to make me feel bad, but it still does. Also, she'll come into my room while I'm on a Zoom class and start telling me everything she's thinking about while I'm trying to focus. If I ever was to tell her the things that she does that annoy me, she'd call me an ableist and say I was forcing her to mask in her own home, and she thought she raised me better than that, so I usually don't bother trying. I try to talk to my dad about it sometimes, but he always uses himself as an excuse, and he says that he loves her, so he's able to look past all the little things that she does that may seem weird. But like he chose to be with her, but I just happened to be born into this family. Yesterday, I was in the middle of a really important test on Zoom, and she came in and started telling me about headphones and how she likes them or something. I was just nodding and saying, uh-huh, and she was like, "Are you even listening to me?" I told her I was in the middle of a test, and she said that I know she needs to talk about these things, so I need to listen. I was trying to listen and do my test at the same time, but it was hard, and I ended up getting 10 points off for turning it in late, so now I have a 75 rather than an 85. Later yesterday, I was talking to my friend on FaceTime. In middle school, me and this friend didn't like each other, but we became friends again last year. But my mom came into my room and asked who I was talking to, and I told her my friend's name, and she said loudly, I thought you hated her. I got really annoyed and tried to explain to my friend that I said that 3 years ago. Luckily, my friend understood, but I'm still really annoyed at my mom for saying that. She keeps saying it doesn't matter because my friend wasn't mad, and I shouldn't be mad at her because I know it's hard for her to forget things because of her autism. She's saying I should apologize to her for getting mad at her over something she can't control. My dad says I'm being ableist, but I'm not saying autistic people shouldn't have kids or anything. I'm just saying that you should make sure you're able to have kids before you do, because I feel like my mom often forgets that I'm the child in this relationship. My parents still think I'm the idiot, and I haven't spoken to them all morning. Am I wrong here? You are not wrong. Being autistic doesn't excuse the things your mom is doing. It may explain some of them, but they aren't excuses. Your mom is an adult, and I'm assuming she's known about her autism for a long time. It is her responsibility to handle her behavior, and if she can't, she needs to speak to a professional who can help her. I'm autistic. I would never behave like your mom does. Your mom is an idiot, and so is your dad. He's looking past her quirks and ignoring the fact that she's mistreating you. Shouting at you for not having your bookshelf in order? Not okay. Sabotaging your test? Not okay. I'm actually kind of concerned because she does not behave like a functioning adult should. Do you have a school counselor you can talk to about this? Her diagnosis is 100% irrelevant. She's screaming at you for invalid reasons. She's sabotaging your schoolwork and potentially your health and your future. If she wants to be a good mom, she'll take the help she needs to be that. You are not the idiot. You're not ableist. She's an idiot. She knows that she can get away with it because your father enables her. Also, you're not telling her to put on a mask. You're asking her not to treat you like crap. If she keeps this up, she can blame herself when you go no contact. Some background. I am a 29-year-old man. My wife is 24. Every couple of weeks, we gather up with some friends on a Skype call to chat and have some drinks. Occasionally, we'll play a game that has somewhat morphed over the years, which basically comes down to us thinking up the most outrageous questions and having to drink if we can't answer them. Everybody puts questions in a pot, and everybody answers or drinks. In total, we've played this game with 6 people this week. The other relevant people I'll call Chuck and Mary. After about an hour of drinking and talking, my question got selected at random. The question was, if you could sleep with someone other than your husband or wife, who would you pick? Chuck immediately looked at Mary and clearly got pretty upset. The thing is, Mary had had an affair late last year, and they were working through it. I didn't exactly forget about this when I made the question, but the questions that we put into the hat are always no holds barred. We've had, have you ever had an STI? To, have you ever paid for intimacy? As questions. Mary awkwardly chose to drink when it was her turn, and soon after it, they made a lame excuse and logged off. Apparently, my question picked at a scab that had not fully healed. Later that night, Chuck sent me a really nasty message, blaming me for the fight. I said it more looked like Mary's fault, considering she was the one who planted the landmine that we all have to consider now, and they're both really angry at me. My wife is super non-confrontational, so I'm afraid that she's just agreeing with me to avoid what she's afraid may be an argument. I'd like a more neutral perspective. Considering the context, did I push it too far? You are so wrong. Context matters. You knew their situation, and you absolutely knew that this question may make them uncomfortable and cause an argument or other similar outcomes. You chose to do that anyway. That absolutely makes you an idiot. You are the idiot. I didn't exactly forget about this when I made the question. Seems like you planted this on purpose and then doubled down. Look, Mary's in the wrong for cheating. But if they're trying to work through it, why pour salt into their wounds? You are all idiots here. The question really isn't super inappropriate given the context of other questions asked, but knowing a previous affair, maybe the question could have been worded better, i.e., what celebrity would you XYZ, etc., to make it a little less realistic. But they are absolutely projecting onto you. She cheated. How is that a you problem? They could have handled it a lot better than it sounds like they did. You are not the idiot. That is such a standard question for this type of game. She could have just said her favorite celebrity and moved on. Since the game has these questions, and Chuck and Mary willingly continued to participate even after her affair, I don't think the onus is on you to censor yourself. Rather than just declining future invites, Chuck chose to blame you for being upset, when really his pain is the result of his wife's affair. I had yesterday and today off of work and decided to clear out my wardrobe. Ended up with a big bag of jumpers, shirts, and a few pair of jeans. I called the charity shop yesterday and asked if they were accepting donations and spoke to a lovely lady who said her manager would be in today, and I could bring them in the afternoon. So I headed there around 2 p.m. and walked in the door and said that I had a donation. The lady looked at me and said, "Washed items only. No hello or anything." I replied saying they were all washed, and she responded with, "Makes a change. Men don't normally know how to work a washing machine." I kind of stood in shock and asked if she could take a look. She opened the bag. I had folded them, but I don't have a car, so I had to carry the bag into town, so a few had unraveled. Looked at me and said, "I guess folding them was a step too far, huh?" At this point, I got ticked off and just said, "You know what? Leave it. I'm taking them home with me." She mentioned that it's not her working day, but came in especially for me and asked why I had wasted her time. I replied stating that had she not been so rude, it wouldn't have been a waste of time. So now I've got a big bag of clothes here I'm not sure what to do with. I'm not sure whether to take them in anyway and swallow my pride, as the charity is one that I value greatly. Alternatively, I can see if there's another one who can pick them up. That's the only one in walking distance. Really ticked me off. You are not the idiot here. I would have just turned around right there. What, does she think every single man out there just drags their laundry to a capable woman every week? If she can't afford kindness, her business won't run for long. You are not wrong. Sure, there are plenty of men that don't know how to do laundry, as there are plenty of women that don't either. Someone bringing in a donation doesn't need to be insulted or subjected to someone else's outdated stereotypes. Also, she was already scheduled. She didn't make a special trip to go to work for you. You are not the idiot. Their business model is taking donations and then selling them. You are giving them free stuff. If they want to make money, they need to be nice to the supplier, you. It sounds like she was peeved she had to come in on her day off. But how does that make sense? The woman on the phone said the manager would be in tomorrow. The receptionist should know when her manager is supposed to come in. Classic case of projection. The golden rule is, be nice to others and they will be nice to you. This lady was nasty. Why would you give her free merchandise to sell?